somebody in the UN today, you are surrendering your freedom to something that is, let's face it, it's an inferior political concept. It's only as strong as its weakest link, and the links are pretty weak. And yet, this is what we're doing. There's something going on right now called the Great Reset. Mr. Klaus Schwab, remember him? He was the author and architect of Davos. The idea is if you get Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg and a lot of professors and Silicon Valley, Wall Street, and you bring them all to Davos, and they can plan out what the world should be like. And if you read his Great Reset, he wants particular governments to surrender sovereignty to an international body. The first thing he wants to do is make sure that no one country gives tax incentives to a corporation like Ireland does, so that corporations have nowhere to go except to their body of high-tax countries, redistributionists. He wants corporate boards to reflect diversity, and their membership should be appointed on the color of their skin rather than their ability to bring a profit to their shareholders. He wants to make sure that we phase out fossil fuels on a schedule that would be turned by an international body. And he has enormous support within the United States. One thing we should remember is the Democratic Party is no longer the party of the middle class. If you look at the top 20 zip codes in the United States, 17 by income, 17 voted Democratic of the 20. If you look at congressional districts by wealth, the top 20 all voted Democratic. The Republican Party has evolved into an upper and middle class party. The Democratic Party is the very, very hyper-rich and the subsidized poor. We should remember that, because a lot of what we've been talking about are the efforts of very wealthy people in Wall Street, Silicon Valley, professional sports, Hollywood, the corporate boardroom, the military, to virtue signal their superiority because they feel guilty that they either don't feel comfortable with the poor or they don't want them around. And it's a very insidious process, this wokeness and this wealth. I don't mean wealth is good, but the idea that people have so much of it, they're exempt from the ramifications of their own ideology. You want teachers' union for others, you want prep schools for yourself. You want everybody to have solar panels, but you have a private jet. That type of attitude. And that is what globalization has become. Let me just finish and say, let's not end on a sad note. What can we, the citizens, do? And I think there's a lot of things we can do. The first thing is we can vote. I think there's going to be the greatest reset, if I could use Klaus Schwab's word, in the next midterm elections we've ever seen. People are very angry. And it's not a white thing or a conservative thing. I live in a city of 90% are Mexican-American, middle class. And believe me, they're very angry. And I think you're going to see a big, everybody has to vote. The second thing is, I think people have to, according to their station, everybody has a different degree of autonomy and freedom and protection and family responsibilities, but they just have to say no. When they're called a racist, you can say, you can call me whatever you want, it has zero effect on me. If you're going to cancel somebody out, you can say, I could care less. Do your best. Do your worst. I'll do my best. But we have to all come out of the shadows and with one voice say that this wokeness has an antecedent. We know what wokeness is. We saw it with the Jacobins in the French Revolution. We saw it with the Bolsheviks that hijacked the Russian Revolution. We saw it with Mao's Cultural Revolution that killed 70 million people. We know where you're going, and we're not going to take this country. We have nothing to apologize to the people who fought at Okinawa. We have nothing to apologize to the people who died at Gettysburg or the 600,000 that died to end slavery. This is a noble tradition. You're not going to hijack it. We also have to get confidence that although we have lost, conservatives are worried about their families, their jobs, their community, and they're not activists. And then that laxity of all of ours, and I'm guilty, more guilty than anybody, the corporate boardroom was hijacked, the Pentagon was hijacked, Wall Street was hijacked, Silicon Valley, as I said, sports, entertainment, Hollywood. And they have enormous influence. If you go into Google, that search can be adjudicated by a result that reflects a political affinity. Donald Trump cannot tweet on Twitter, the Taliban can. So they have enormous policy, but they don't have the people. all the polls show that every one of these issues I talked about, the American people do not support it. And yet we have to find a voice. And I think the voice is we have to go on the offensive and fight back. And if somebody calls you racist and they say that they're going to do this and this and this and this person, they're racist. They're talking about skin color. There's nothing wrong with saying the woke movement is racist to the core. It's elitist to the core. It's discriminatory to the core. And I'm happy to tell you that every day of the week. And if we do that, I think we can end it. And again, it's an empowered citizenry that is the majority. You're not the minority, and you're not crazy. Thank you very much.